We are going to call to order the Tourism and Arts Commission meeting for Monday, February 10th at 3 p.m. We believe we're awaiting Tom's arrival, but I see we have Jackie and Michelle on video. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello.
Somewhat familiar with each other? Do we need introductions, not introductions?
Yeah, introduction.
Okay, should we do them? Greg, I'll let you start.
No,
You do or no?
no, Greg Swedenborg, on the committee. I don't know how long now, had in previous time, and that's that.
That's that. And lodging aficionado, is that what we're gonna say?
It's my day job.
It's the background. Libby Gast, chair, Greg's vice chair right now. Background, marketing, advertising in a professional realm and art literacy. As a volunteer basis through K-8 schools and event marketing and management. So that's kind of my spiel. Julie?
Julie Walker, I own Center Diamond, the fabric store right over there.
And Jackie, you want to go?
Jackie Brown. I live part-time in Portland and part-time in Cannon Beach, and today ended up being the day that my daughter decided to move. So I'm watching the dogs. If you hear some dogs barking in the background, I'll try to mute it as much as possible.
Okay. And a background in art literacy,
Yes.
amongst other things. And Michelle, I know gallery owner.
Yeah, I have a Michelle Valagura. I have a pottery shop and studio downtown, and that's where I'm at right now. And I'm open
Okay.
and I'm working. So I zoomed in. I debated. I was like, should I close? But so I'm zooming.
Okay,
So,
great. Well, welcome.
okay.
Welcome. Your volume's a little low, so we're trying to figure it out for a second. I don't know if everyone had a chance to look at the packet. We had 2 pages of minutes from our last meeting on January 21st. I don't know if anyone had any corrections or additions to make on that.
I move to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we can vote to approve, I think, even though Jennifer had to step out for a second.
I don't know what.
Oh, sorry.
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 I didn't want to mess it up. I didn't know what to push.
Oh, let me turn it way down.
It's pretty low.
Got it down to like 20.
Oh, yeah.
It needs to be up at like 70.
There we go.
There we go.
How about now?
Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Perfect. It was
Hear you now.
on our side.
Okay,
Yeah.
usually I'm too loud.
Thank you.
I know.
Rusty.
I know nothing about that.
I approve it. Greg seconded. Taking a vote.
And all those in favor of approving the minutes from January 21st?
Hi.
Aye. Those against? Done. Okay. Okay.
This is his document, isn't it?
It is his document. Public comment. We don't have
Well,
anyone here for public comment.
we haven't done a flyer yet to.
I-
I was going to give an update on that.
Okay.
Severely rough couple of weeks, but I am almost done with it,
Oh, great.
and it'll be in your inbox probably tonight.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Via Jennifer, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
Email it to everybody.
And it might be a little rough because my artistic abilities are there. It's just the words.
The words. Okay. So Michelle, Greg was working on a flyer for the community just to get word out about bringing ideas.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw
Funding.
that on the packet, right? Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I look forward to seeing that. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Um,
Budget and process.
Budget and process for, because we were requesting to know how much we had in the different pools. Is that correct?
This was gonna be, we wanted to talk about your budget and also we want to talk about the process of requesting funds. But Tim, I was gonna get information, Tim's gonna share some information about budget and about process, actually. Let me go grab him.
Okay.
It was one of those days where you just kind of feel like I'm a day late and a dollar short.
Was he the finance guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Fun guy. Honey.
Jackie and Michelle, we're pulling people from different areas. We're gonna have to talk about shifting our Monday now, the day of our meetings, to either an earlier or later time because some of the staff have a standing appointment already and it went over their heads when we were in here before, so. She's going to grab Tim so we can talk because we want to know what we're looking at in the different pots of funding and how we go about. I know I did watch, thank you, Julie, and I knew you attended and I saw Tom on the city council meeting, but I thought that was a really good question that was brought up about the process of the fishermen's and how we could fund it, but did the city still have to go through the 3-bid process and how does that affect?
Geez, yeah.
Yeah. So they did reach out and meet that qualification, but if we're fractionally funding it, we need to realize that the city has to go through their proper steps for bidding.
So on public art, and I haven't had a chance to actually look it up, there is a public art exclusion in our procurement regulations.
Oh, there is.
And I just came across this recently, so I'm gonna try to pull it up
And that
really
was
quick.
brought up. Didn't Bruce bring it up in the meeting? Because Tom had asked, he had gone out and asked,
Oh, yeah.
one did not get back to him, the other one did get back and it said it was $100 and whatever thousand to do the
Yes.
fisherman's dance in Barnes. But then Bruce said, but in addition, there's a clause in the procurement thing that they don't have to go to RFP.
Okay.
No, right. He was
Or-
talking about the dollar amount, I think. Where we were at the dollar amount, we didn't need an RFP. We needed 3 quotes, but I need to find those.
Eric brought that up
Eric. brought
Oh, it was
up,
Eric,
and,
yeah.
at 2 in the morning in South Africa. Didn't believe he got up that early for that meeting.
Well, Tim,
Isn't it amazing?
Oh, thank you.
happy to have you.
From South Africa.
you. Yeah, anywhere.
We live in times, don't we?
I know. Well, as we're widening our scope,
Uh-huh.
lots of other questions, come up. We were talking about the procurement process when it involves the city and Jennifer was saying she thought the public art had a clause in it as far as the bidding process went. So she was looking at that, but
So it's not just it is a dollar amount.
Well, so you have a bunch of different categories of
Okay.
fees, but there's a dollar amount where up to I believe it's $50,000, you can just get 3 quotes. And then above that, where you have to have a formal RFP. So you have to have a written response. It's just a lot more than,
So Tom just going out and saying, hey, give us a quote for doing this was fine.
yes.
Gotcha.
gotcha.
I saw something. I'm not gonna find it real quick, but Tim's gonna talk to you guys about
Yeah.
TNT and, here we go. This is under special procurement, sole source and exemptions. So this is, the city has exempted the following classes of contracts from those public contracting requirements, subject to the following conditions. 1, purchase of goods and services through federal programs pursuant to so it's talking about federal GSA. But number 2 is contracts for the purchase or commissioning of works of art.
Okay.
So there is an exempt in there. So we would want to, before we did go and pursue something, we would definitely talk with Ashley. I mean, this was something a lot smaller, but if we were doing something on a big scale, we would confirm with Ashley, like, how would you like us to see us do it? What do other cities do? Gotcha.
Can you go back and read the last section of that?
The federal GSA thing?
Yeah,
That was for goods and services. The procurement must be made in accordance with procedures established by the federal GSA for procurements by local governments and under purchase orders approved by the city council. That was number one, though, for goods and services.
okay.
We were number two, contracts for the purchase of or commissioning of works of art.
Do we need to put a maintenance clause or something?
No, this is
In
our
there?
procurement rules.
Okay,
And it's just for the purchase or commissioning of works of art.
okay,
So maintenance, though, I think is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But we still were fine with our dollar amount.
with our dollar amount, okay, okay. Okay, thank you for digging that up. Okay,
Okay,
what do you have for us?
so we talked Jen and I talked really broadly. So one of the, we have not, the city of Cannon Beach has not really done this in the past, but there are several things that TRT can be used for that are associated with programs basically that we currently run. So one of the things that we have talked about and have got talked with our attorneys about is, can we use these funds for HRAP? Can we use these funds for the public restrooms? Can we use these funds for life-saving, which they've told us no? Can we use these funds for, what was it? It was
Restrooms,
restrooms,
lifeguards.
which was no, HRAP, which is yes. Oh, by information aids. So one of the, and we couldn't, you can't pay for the entire program for that, or the city can't pay for the entire program, like you couldn't pay for the entire HRAP program. But one of the sources of funds could be either county TRT money, TAF money, the 1.5% that is currently earmarked for CBE. Until that kind of goes forward. So those funds can be used for that. So one of my recommendations to the budget committee coming up in this year is going to be use TRT to pay for some of that stuff. So like half of HRAP, et cetera. And that is really, when you look at like TAF, we typically, we receive roughly $500,000 a year in TRT funds, and we issue grants around 250, don't quite spend it. And so for several years now, we've been building up an ending fund balance. So that ending fund balance at this point in time is roughly $951,000, give or take at the end of December. It will be higher than that as we go forward, just because we still have 3 quarters that we haven't recorded in TRTs yet. So that would be, so you'd have an additional one-time funds that you would be able to use for those kinds of projects ongoing, or your artwork, or stuff like that. So, yeah, it's, again, as long as it's tourism related, and tourism facilities to a certain degree, then we have some latitude to be able to use those funds. The other thing is, I don't know if you're aware, but there is a TRT, there's in the legislature right now, there is a bill being moved forward to try to take the 30-70 split to a 50-50 split. So we'll see what comes of that, but
That's coming up this session?
that's in this session right now. Yeah, so I don't know what will move. I am guessing that that's being kind of headed up by the League of Oregon Cities. However, I'm guessing Orla will have something to say about it. So we will kind of see what happens with regards at the end, but it's currently in process. So we'll see what happens.
Representative.
What's that?
We could write our representative.
Yes, and he has been very vocal. Javadi, is that his?
Cyrus.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I saw his,
Yep. Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, so. Oh, sorry.
You say that moving ahead, is the city going to use this fund, our fund that we're talking about today, for HRAP?
It will be a combination of funds. So it would be via county TR, come from the county TRT, could come, we have several TRT funds, right? This being one of them, we have one that essentially the money goes to the chamber. We have the one from the county, which is 70% of 1% that comes to us. And then we have the 1.5% that is charged that in past or was originally designed to go to CBE. So it will be a limited amount that would be able to be reimbursed, and there would be these three funding sources that it could potentially come from.
So it wouldn't necessarily just come from us.
No. And I would never ask one fund to pay for the whole thing. That would.
So I assume like for HRAP, for example, it would be the hourly pay for the people on the beach. I mean,
Yeah, you
can't do the salaries,
Yeah, you could do part of them, but you would mostly do the cost of on the beach or whatever it actually costs to run that portion of the program.
Okay.
Couldn't do it for education, couldn't do it for the field trips, that kind of thing. Couldn't do that. So.
Which is hilarious, the field trips. Now, that's tourists, they're kids, but they're still tourists.
Right. But they're most probably not driving a lot of TRT funding. That's the purpose of the
That's right.
TRT funding. Right. Not staying overnight. So that's the purpose of the TRT funding. So, yeah.
So who's saying that? Are you saying that's based on like the Oregon ORS 320 law?
For
what, like you said lifeguards couldn't be funded.
yes,
But restrooms could in our case.
to a certain degree, yes. And again, it couldn't be all of it, right? And when you talk to an attorney, they're going to be much more conservative than we probably would. But yes, that in the attorneys have stated that for the most part, those are the things we could spend the
So
funds.
this is the attorney's interpretation of what can be spent
Correct.
based on ORSR 320, blah, blah, blah.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
So what's interesting to me about that is I thought everyone was saying no when Lisa brought up she wants our little greeters on the S curves to be paid for out of TLT funds. We
Right.
were all laughing, saying, oh, that can't happen, but it sounds like information aids.
Yeah, we call them information aids, right? And so we would, and right now we're actually waiting for them to actually draft up what we could spend on the information aids. But they have been very supportive so far before I've gotten the written thing on the bathrooms and on HRAP. They've been,
Okay.
and we do actually have a formal report from them with regards to HRAP, so.
Was this, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Is this in the council meeting that you were referencing just last week? Or is this internal discussions or?
Was maybe during the retreat.
It was the retreat.
Yeah, I remember when Lisa brought that up.
HRAP was last week on
It was during-
the Zoom.
Because I wasn't around for that
Yeah.
meeting. And I was just gonna question, did anyone ask a question about the RV park?
What about the RV park?
It's a facility for tourism.
It is, but it's
Have the RV park fund,
right.
but could these funds, like, for example, if the 2% increase that the county's about to do for the jail, if that goes through, can we use that for payment of anything that goes on at the RV park?
Yeah, so the 2% that the county is raising is not going to be status quo. So the 2% that they're going to raise, they're going to keep 30% for the jail and the other 70% will stay with the county for county tourism field. So we won't see any of that.
It's not gonna be the same agreement as
It's not going to be the same agreement as the one. They won't change the 1% agreement for the county TRT.
that part I didn't read. I didn't know.
And from the RV park standpoint, for the most part, that fund really, because of what we charge people, we have sufficient funds in there that if we were going to do major upgrades, we can fund it through that source. So we wouldn't need to use TRT funds for that. You could in theory, but we probably don't need to.
What do you're thinking something else though?
No, you're thinking
I
spending.
can see why both of us will.
Spending RV park funds?
No.
Oh.
If you use TRT funds to support the swimming pool over there or any, whatever you're doing over there,
Mhm.
then that frees up general fund dollars that are not restricted.
Yes, but in the RV park, we have like the general fund is putting zero money into
Because
this.
it's the RV park fund?
What's that?
Because it's the RV park fund that's funded by people paying rents?
Yep, it's funded by people paying rent. Actually, the RV park pays the general fund $300,000 a year. Mhm.
I guess I just don't understand how it works because it seems like somewhere city money, non-restricted city money
Right,
is being used to, do maintenance or whatever they're doing over there.
right. Well, that's all, but that is all that is all driven from the rents that people pay.
So no city money is spent.
No city money is spent on the RV park.
It's all from their rents.
Yep.
I think I remember hearing that when they did a report.
Mhm.
City council
All-
came in, Escape came in to say, here's what we did last year. And it was like, I learned so much in that meeting about what the RV park does.
Hmm.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Can't believe what they do over there.
Yeah, if no money is being spent on it and it's a self-sustaining business and that your built-in laundering system isn't working.
Right. So the big thing, for us would be like the amount of money we would spend on parking lots, right? So the big parking lots here, that in theory, would be something you would, try to drive. But really what we've found is HRAP is $500,000 program. So if we could fund 50% of that, that's freeing up 250,000 inside the general fund. So that's a significant amount.
Yeah.
That one was already blessed by the attorney.
That one's already been blessed by the attorney. The public restrooms, to a certain degree, has already been verbally blessed. The information aides and the lifeguards right now are we'll see what happens when they send me their report.
Interesting.
So you may not know the answer to this, nor you may not want to answer it, but what portion of our 951 do you see being taken aside to fund those? I mean,
At this time, I don't know. I really don't. And it would probably be more geared towards the annual revenue number than it would be necessarily taking out
okay,
something like this. So, one of the things that you really did with the money this year was the Midtown restroom upgrades, right? So a large capital project would be something that you would probably want to do with if you were on the ending fund balance, because it's not good practice to spend one-time money, which an ending fund balance is an ongoing expenditure.
Mhm.
Right? So if you can find it inside the revenue streams, then you try that. So we haven't come up with a split yet on what that would be, but we'll work through it as we go through.
okay. And I'm only asking that because we're going to put out this flyer in the community. We have no idea from the community what kind of response
Mhm.
on projects we're going to get to. So we're all a little these are obviously very valuable and, part of the community. Does that make sense though? That
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So like, I have a hard time when, I guess it's Ashley or the attorney
Mhm.
saying you can't do lifeguards.
Right.
Yet the county can call inmates in jail tourists.
No, there's.
No. So they're spending the 30%. So they're upgrading it by 2%. So the 1% where we get money from that, right? That 30% they can use for general fund for anything.
Yeah, I understand the 70.
That 30% is what they have done. So the 30% of the original 1% is what the county was originally using for the jail. Now they need the 30% of the 2%, and that will go to their general fund to fund the jail. The other 70% of the 2% will go to county tourist activities, whatever those are. I don't know what those are.
Yeah,
They'll have to do the same,
that's the difference. I get it.
something.
Right.
they're Doing.
Right. They'll do it. Yes. I have no idea what.
If the city came up and said to the county and said, well, we need help with something,
Mhm.
we want to access some of that 70% money of your 2%. Well, that's not even your purview.
Right.
That's the county
If I was a betting man, county's gonna say no.
Yeah. Supposedly, they're gonna have to spend it on something tourist related.
Yes.
The entire county.
Correct. And you know, I'm not privy to theirs, but what I would guess is that they'll probably, one, they probably already have some kind of tourist program. I don't know what it is. But two, they would probably do some kind of grant program, I would guess. But I don't know what the parameters of that would be yet. They're still working. I don't think they've clearly defined yet. It's still working through the county council right now, I think, through what they're doing. It's just,
Be something that will come from that somebody could apply for.
if they're, you know, I don't know, or else, yeah, I'm just assuming, I'm just making an assumption on that in that regard.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you, we don't get any of that money, so.
Anyways,
I didn't-
they used to give us the Arch Cape portion. And they used to kick that back.
I did not know that they were.
I just assumed it was gonna go like
Right.
the first one.
That's what we originally hoped for too, but then they quashed that hope.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Well, it'll be interesting if they let us pay for some of those information aids, because I'd like to see a lot more of them around in the summer.
Mhm.
Much more heavily ticketing in the summer.
On a new basis, because we wanted to figure out a way to do faster ticketing, we now have mobile parking ticket machines. So there won't be as many there'll be some very few handwritten, but now it'll be mostly on a mobile device.
So do
So-
they get it based on their license?
Yeah, so they'll do it on their license. They'll take the pictures right there, boom, print it out, throw it on the window and move on. So
Integrates with the DMV probably.
So,
that's gonna be, yeah, it's pretty slick.
I've gotten a ticket from a rent car.
Yeah, it's pretty slick.
Yeah.
So it's a lot better than currently. They have to handwrite everything. And so, yeah.
Great. Well, it'd be great if we could pay for them, because honestly, the reason we have them is because we're overrun with tourists in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Lifeguards, I could kind of see, sort of, because they are watching over the people who live here too.
I sent the articles though, that the only people the lifeguard program saves are tourists. So.
Pretty much.
That's one I would be willing to push.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was.
One
Mhm.
people got water that lives here.
So, but again, I'll get a formal letter from them. We've already been blessed on the HRAP side, so.
Okay.
And as we move forward through the budget process, we'll kind of
Will we have a process where if someone comes in and says, I want to do this, or this would be great, and we think it's a good idea to submit it just up to council, I guess, or,
Council, I guess.
but not edit legally first, or?
Yeah, I guess.
We would set it legally at our level first.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
And that's one of the things we wanted to talk about was how would the process look?
That's what, yeah.
Yeah, they would come and talk to us. We would have to consult probably with Ashley to make sure, because if we're using restricted funds, it needs to fit in that
Hmm.
category. And then once you're comfortable with it,
So this is all new for us because we used to have a yearly process where
Mhm.
people would come in, we want to do this event, we say
Mhm.
yes or no, and here's the dollars.
Right.
And we go to city council and it's approved and we're done for the year.
right.
And what, except for following up on midterms
And typically your award amounts would only equal roughly half of the amount of the income that was coming.
Right, which is why we have a reserve.
Yep.
So now city council's asked us to be broader in terms of not go ahead and keep doing events, but community development as well. And then Karen comes in and it's like, well, we had this piece of art that's disintegrating, we could sure use help. And well, the bathrooms at Les Shirley are looking crappy and we could sure use help. And sculpture up at Breakers Point is
Right.
disintegrating and we could use help with that. So
Again, and again, going back to my earlier comment, using ending fund balance or your reserve to spend for those kinds of capital projects is actually a good use of funds. I mean, for maybe not those projects, but conceptually, using ending fund balance for one-time capital projects is a good use of those funds.
Back to the fishermen. We put up a third, then the 2/3 went, and I was that was coming out of the public art fund, is that right, through the city? Okay.
Because they hadn't spent money for 2 years, so he said they had 50 grand.
We had increased it this year.
Mhm.
So we had increased it. We thoughts of possibly doing some more art at the CPE.
Oh, gotcha.
And so
Oh,
that
okay.
wasn't happening, so there was an extra funds in there.
Oh,
So
in
the
there.
plan was to use it this year
Right.
and
Gotcha.
we are. but
Well, we are
something
using it, but not on
Yeah.
the same thing, so, okay,
Okay.
all right.
Well, I think. No. Discuss it, then get Ashley.
$50,000 of whatever's coming in might be used for HVAC next year. In this fiscal year.
I wouldn't use all of the money from this fund, right? It would be,
Spreading it.
I would spread those funds across all funds.
Okay, so not
All the TRT funds. It wouldn't be just this here, yeah. It would be spread across everybody.
to figure out how much money will we
Yeah.
have to spend
Mhm.
in the next fiscal year.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that.
Coming out of general right now, all of it?
HRAP, yes. All of HRAP is all of the bathrooms are coming out. So between the two of those, I think that's $850,000. That's general fund money.
It was $78,000 a year in toilet paper a few years back. For that amount, I'm sure it's gone up.
So silly, because of course this money should pay for restrooms.
Mhm.
People who live here can use the restroom.
Right.
Have a house.
Only if you're desperate.
Well.
Right.
Right. It'll be more like 90. And I don't want to beat this into the ground, but I'm still kind of going back to the RV park thing. I know there's the RV park fund and money is being generated through rents, rents.
Mhm.
But if there's a $200,000 expenditure at the RV park, I assume that fund has a surplus that you would do that?
Yep.
What would, from a finance perspective, what would stop, using restricted funds to pay for that and then just give more back to the city and unrestricted funds from the rents? I mean, is there a process?
I see what you're saying.
I mean, I don't want to call it what it is, but we have a built-in money laundering system in that we have a city-owned hotel.
Yeah.
And that way, so any dime, take the revenue in from the unrestricted revenue and anything you could have expenses on that have to do with the structure of a tourist-related facility, use it that way. And then we kind of free up how funds can be used. And I don't know, that fund was created years ago and I'm not a finance guy.
Right.
I just know how to get around things.
Mhm.
It seems like that would be something worth looking at.
I think it's one of those things though, where I have sufficient money inside the insufficient money in the RV park reserve, where if I just wanted to put more money into the general fund, I would just move more money into the general fund. Right now, we just have had a flat $300,000 transfer
Yeah.
from that. And then whatever extra goes either to the RV park reserve fund. So we always send some money over there, and then whatever's left just falls to the ending fund balance. And that's how I have well north of $1 million in the RV park fund, and I have another 500,000 in the RV park reserve fund. So
Where you needed unrestricted funds,
I could just transfer it over.
transfer it.
In theory, I could just transfer it over.
Are they asking to use your laundry? Is that what you're asking?
No. No,
Laundry wasn't working.
no, laundering money. Just creative financing,
Yeah.
I know.
The word money laundering.
Yeah. And I don't mean it like that. I use it to draw attention to it. Because it just seems like, if you look at all municipalities, there's only a handful of them that have what is defined as a tourist related facility that is a I guess if you started talking about convention centers and things too, there's more than that.
Mhm.
It feels like as a city, we have not too much, but a lot of restricted money.
Mhm.
So what are some ways that you can use that restricted money to pay things that are allowed by OSR 320? And what are some ways to do that and then free up your general fund? And I didn't know the RV park was, self-funding
Mhm.
clearly, but there, are other things in the community. And so I'm just asking the questions so I can
Mhm.
educate myself on it. and not
Well,
proposing that someone does that.
Seems like HRAP would be one of those that,
It's a perfect example of something that the general fund has for years been paying that
Yeah.
could, you know, so, and that's kind of our charter is to find those things.
Mhm.
And to me, that's just a big glaring one across the highway. But
Okay.
From the meeting last week, did it sound like mobility may not happen with us involved or?
No, it's not about that. It was just, so the safety dude came, because Eric was gone and to the assembly meeting, to that accessibility meeting, excuse me. And he just brought up all the safety issues. And
Okay.
it was like stuff I had never thought of. I just
Okay.
Got a major education. And I think you put it in the notes, attractive nuisance.
Okay.
He never used those words, but he was pointing out that because you have these things, it actually makes it more likely that something bad might happen. And he was just pointing out where the Moby mats were gonna go, which was, out and then like over 400 yards. And they did an aerial view and the Moby mats are sitting in the high water line in the summer. And so he was just pointing out all kinds of things. And so we've adjusted. I'm just not sure that we're gonna be able to do. We can't do anything with wheelchairs until we have a place to put them and charge them.
Okay.
So until this building is done,
Yeah,
it's not an issue for at least 18 months.
okay,
The Moby mats, this will be their trial run and we'll see how it goes. But we definitely adjusted where we were gonna put them and how we were gonna put them based on his concerns about here's what could happen. And of course, we have April from down in Manzanita, whose daughter is in a wheelchair. And she always gives us she lives this stuff, so she
Mhm.
knows it. And he's like, April, you're not the problem. You go to the beach, you got your wheelchair, you got everything, you know what to watch for, you know all the problems. What about the people who don't? And just all of a sudden, oh, there's some stuff, we can walk on the soft sand now. And then they get themselves in trouble
okay.
because they don't know what they're doing. And he's like, those are the people that I'll end up going to get.
Kind of like the King Tide tours.
Yes.
Okay,
So, but at any rate, nothing's gonna happen with wheelchairs until this building's done.
okay,
So it's certainly not it's not high on my priority list right now. Moby mats are already been gotten. I don't know, it's all gonna be volunteer based. I don't think there's
Okay.
gonna be any money needed that I've heard of, because it's gonna be volunteer based with the placement in the morning, checking in at night and all that
Okay.
stuff. But I'll let you know if I hear something.
okay, okay. Well,
Anything else we need to
Yeah.
know from you?
I don't think so at this point in time. We'll know more as our kind of more information will come as the budget process moves forward and we'll go from there.
You know how much the information aids cost, like per person?
Oh, I don't off the top of my head. Yeah,
Just curious.
yeah.
Okay.
so then the process though of when you divvy up, does that go to council then to vote on that it comes? Like, will we know?
Oh, how much money he's gonna?
Yeah.
And I think when we sort out like kind of what the
Yeah.
breakdown would be, I would actually let you guys know what my proposal
Okay,
would be.
and then you'll take that and they have to vote on it?
And they, just like the regular budget,
Okay,
do that, yeah, so. Yeah.
perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Okay,
Thank you.
hit it.
All right, let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well,
Well, we can't go over this without Tom.
I know.
We can discuss the process. Do we want to have like an application process? Is there a checklist we want to have in place that can help you get through it? Obviously this is early planning, so we can play with it and kind of see.
I was thinking about that this morning and wondering, I know this is government and forms and bureaucracy is all the rage, but because we don't even know what we're gonna be asked to do, I don't even know I can't even think of how to put something down, because we had, for the events, we had we were always adding, we should add this to it too.
yeah,
But I don't even know what to ask people other than what's your idea?
Yeah.
So until we start, I don't know, am I thinking about it wrong, you guys?
Yeah, I think it's hard to come up with a standardized,
When you brought in the idea of, which I never would have occurred to me, I'm not a parent. oh, we should cover the pickleball courts and the. skate
Yeah.
park. It's like, well, duh, Julie, that's a great idea. So like, that's totally different than paying for information officers. All right, so how do you give somebody an application other than say, tell us what your idea is, and then make sure that it conforms to
The
the
code.
tourism, to the ORS, whatever the hell.
I guess the only thing I could think of as a question and, kind of pertains to what I would think the public art procurement too would be like initial sum, and is there an ongoing annual cost involved? Does that make
But the
sense?
people who come up with the idea aren't even gonna know about that.
And
right?
that's-
So somebody who comes up, well, I think we should do this.
Yeah,
They don't know how much it costs.
So I can kind of see that as, that's where we as a committee
Right.
talk about, is it worthy of, is it a good idea? Oh, yeah, we like that idea. It checks the boxes of whatever the criteria is. And I guess in most of my thoughts, they are things that you would then hand over to the city.
Yeah.
To facilitate and say, hey, we have, as a committee, we would be approve this. And if, we might not have numbers at the time, but you can ballpark, we have funds to fund something like this. Can you go out and get the quotes and do the thing? If it's, more construction related,
Okay.
like the bathrooms,
yeah,
just, so I don't see it has to be all that difficult.
difficult.
I mean, it's like, what's your idea? And then tell us how it conforms to the Oregon state law. And then we would just take it from there. I'd go back to city sign, right? We still have that hanging over us too. It's sort of like, well, I mean, Karen said, that seems like something that city public works would go ahead and do. And it's like, yeah, but then we have the whole political thing of it's art. Do we want to have the contest? Do we want to have something like that or something like, I mean, I just think that maybe that we do is tell us your idea and tell us how it conforms to ORS 320, whatever the heck, and start with that to start, because I don't know.
I think
bet-
it's a
Nobody
good
knows how much-
idea to
Pardon?
I think it's a good idea to actually put on paper, like, okay, here's what's your idea? Put on paper, it has to conform to this ORS 320 and put what the statute is so that people can look at it and say, because then
And
that
that
will
little, the little flyer thing
maybe
that I'm creating.
make it a little
does-
less of a problem with people coming with ideas that aren't going to work, that we won't be able to pay for. And then we got to explain it to everybody and,
3 meetings with sea turtles forever.
That's a great idea, because it can be vague, a description, and then we can have yes or no boxes, something that we can kind of, does
Yeah.
it do this, does it do that, and maybe weed some of it
Right.
out.
Yeah.
Or you
Yeah.
were gonna say your flyer.
The flyer
Well,
would.
it kind of explains to, so some, you go into some meetings and people are like, well, low income housing or whatever, well, you can't, And so, it clearly calls out, here are some of the ideas. Here are the actual rules that you're going by. And it's, if you really look at that ordinance or statute or whatever they call it, it's long, but it really boils down to like 2 or 3 lines.
Right.
This is what the parameters you have to play with. And, have that information so people know going into it, that they can't just be like, let's build housing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be great, but you can't.
And you said you think it's on your flyer. Maybe we start with your flyer and then go from there with the application.
Yeah, I mean, the application would probably be more involved.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of the person that's at the, post office and they're looking at the community bulletin board and they're reading this thing, oh, I've always had this idea, we want them to come to our meetings. And that's kind of what we're trying to do.
And maybe instead of an application, we call it an interest form or something,
Sure.
just to start
Yeah.
the process, start the,
Because you don't want to be intimidating.
right.
Yeah.
If they're not applying for the money for themselves,
Yeah.
like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go do it.
It's a suggestion box,
a suggestion box. Yeah.
Yeah,
essentially. And I try to think of all these things where people tell me like, oh, it would be great if we did this. And almost every single thing that they are pitching and brainstorming about, I see that goes back to a department within the city, whether it be parks or public works or something.
Right.
I can't come up with one that would just be like, oh, here's your money, go do it.
Yeah.
To John, John Q. Public,
yeah.
other than the events that like what we've traditionally done.
Okay.
That sounds
Possible. Yeah, and then after you guys talk about it, we can meet with the staff and, you know, like you said, once we get a couple of these, we'll kind of get a.
Yeah, kind of,
Yeah.
what's out there, I
And
think.
that's what happened with the fishermen's, you know, Karen came in, there was a lot of discussions with Karen, we had her pop in a couple times, like it was a collaborative event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you guys are.
Yep.
Now it's happening.
Okay.
Next one is the Shirley bathrooms, which I hear are a mess.
I did go in there once. I don't remember.
You want my wish list? I got one.
Well, yeah, like the one I hear from a lot of people have bathrooms across from Les Shirley, basically the old school.
Oh,
You
Yeah.
know, those where we store the, you know, right there at the very end of Spruce.
Mhm.
Because people from there, it's a long walk to the one on Second and,
Yep.
you know, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, well, our last one, I assume, topic 4, purchase of public art, that this is what Tom put together? Is that,
So that came from Tom. And like you said, if you're not in here, maybe that's something we talked about
Yeah.
last time.
that's kind of what I get, yeah,
I'm
I think
assuming that some, I've looked at this and I guess what concerned me is, so the fisherman's dance. Maybe we shouldn't be buying art that's wood for outside.
and
So I didn't know if that was in here in terms of. And we said preference for art that's functional or interactive. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's in here until let's think about the.
terminology or
the
whatever,
terminology, but think about where you're putting it and is it gonna last for
Yeah.
40 years, 50 years, 60 years?
longevity of it.
Not gonna
Or
last.
maintenance.
Maintenance, yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one that I had to. I was like,
Not to say that we wouldn't, so like the orange bench had to be redone
yeah,
because you knew that orange was gonna fade. But if it fades every, I don't know how long that orange bench was there, if it's every 15 years, do we wanna take on the fact that we might have to repowder coat it every 15 years?
yeah,
Or something like that, but the wood seems like, ooh, is that a good idea for outside?
yeah. Well, and it's hard too, because you don't want to discourage. I mean, we want to be inclusive of all art forms, but yes, maybe outside is not the best option for a wood piece or whatnot.
I'm not sure that's in here,
Yeah, so maybe think about how would we word,
considering.
and maybe Michelle with arts background might be able to offer some terminology, but maybe think about that, because this kind of goes back to the following guidelines, you know, do we feel like, I thought Tom brought up a bunch of very valid, you know, guidelines, but did we all feel that those were important, or is there a hierarchy of them? And I think those are all things we could talk about at the next meeting, or additions, subtractions. But yeah,
I personally wowould worry about excluding a natural material to the area, especially when there are so many actual woodworkers around here. I mean, I know we're talking about the fisherman's dance and how it's degrading, but I mean, just because it's a, you know, natural resource, and I don't know, I know a lot of woodworkers that, I don't know, I just food for thought. That's it.
yeah,
I'm not talking about excluding them. I would say it needs, if we're gonna buy art, it needs to be cognizant of where we are going to put it in our
Yeah.
environment. And if it was going to be, so for instance, if the school goes forward with some sort of a lobby,
mhm,
that'd be a great place for a wooden piece.
yeah,
Or if there was gonna be public art, I don't know where. There are other places that might be more protected or whatever. I think we just need to be cognizant of where it's going to be placed, because that sucker's just hanging out there. You know,
Yeah.
everything, I'm not saying excluding, I just think we need to be aware of where it's gonna be put. And the maintenance that might be involved with keeping it alive, keeping it.
well, yeah, because what we ended up with, what, 37,500 or something being the cost of casting it in the bronze to salvage it if it were in a venue that was under, you know, if it had a little house over the top. I mean, you know, again, I don't want to discourage
Yeah, I don't-
outdoor art, but I think that does have to be, if things are going to be deteriorating and we're purchasing public art, I think that's a cost we have to kind of ask about at the beginning or think about, you know, placement of things.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go.
I think a lot of it has to do with what it costs and what it is. So if someone's like, it's a $10,000 piece and it'll last 25 years and, you know, out in the doors versus an 80,000, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference because, I mean, I don't know, I assume it's wood, the pole, the old school, the totem pole looking thing,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know how much it cost.
Yeah.
It's just been there.
Tracy said, she thought she was on the public art committee at the time. She thought she remembered it was 20 grand.
Yeah, and if that has a life, you know, it will last, you know, 30 years,
Mhm.
then, you know, you just have to make a decision. You want it outside or inside?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But if it was $100,000, it's a different,
yeah, a different play for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, without Tom here, I think we just kind of make our own individual side notes and then come back.
That was the only thought.
At the next meeting.
This was
Yeah.
just be cognizant of the materials that it's in, so
Yeah.
Materials.
where it's gonna be placed.
And think about if you have any additions or subtractions on the guidelines or, you know, ranking. I think about like our grant funding process, you know, does it meet this criteria, that criteria, whatnot, but as we know, art in itself is sometimes, you know, a little more fluid in the guidelines or the structure of things, so. But I think that is definitely a good start to go with. Anything else on that? Do we have anything for the good of the order? Outside, okay,
So last time when we scheduled this, I wasn't thinking the fact that Bruce and Rusty both have a standing 3 o'clock meeting on Mondays. So they're not gonna be able to attend. Would it be possible to switch this meeting to 2 or 4 PM on Mondays?
I'm good with either one.
I can be good with either one.
We're doing second Mondays, right? Looks like. Is that right? Second Monday.
Second Monday of the month. Greg, do you have a preference?
I'm trying to think. I could do either. I think earlier is a little bit better for me personally, but I could do both.
And if I would prefer earlier, just in case their 3 o'clock ran late, then they wouldn't miss anything.
Mhm.
And you guys have been pretty good about keeping it to an hour, and since you're meeting monthly, you know,
It should
I think you would be able
Cook
to
along.
keep it pretty much to an hour. And if there is something that comes up, we can always talk with them and we can reschedule their project meeting and just say, hey, guys, we know this is coming up. Can we move you till 4 so that way they have 2 hours with you
Go
guys?
through there.
All right.
Jackie, Michelle, any preference? Is 2's good?
I like the earlier. That's better for me. I don't,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I don't like either of them, but I'm fine with the early.
2 PM,
Okay, 2 to 3.
second
Second
Monday. Okay,
All right, so our next meeting then is March 10th.
10th. Yep,
I'm gonna just fix this.
In
right here.
April, it'll be on the 14th, but we don't know where.
Yes.
yeah, we don't know where.
Could be here, could be the chamber.
Yeah, we don't know.
We will find out soon.
Okay, tack 2 to 3.
Okay. Monday, March 10th.
Where?
Okay, anything else beyond that? Okay, we're under an hour. Let's adjourn. Thank you.
Right, thanks.
Okay, so what I found out was the Joe Police sculpture
Is it Joe Police?
You wiped it.
Is